Good evening. Welcome to. Oh, I'm sorry, Charles. I didn't mean to not let you finish dancing. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I caught the Holy Ghost.
Welcome, social media, to Real Fellas Talk Sports. My name is Earl Rush, and I will be the moderator this evening. Let me introduce our esteemed panel, and we'll get straight to the hot sport topics for the day. Our first, a man from the Midwest. I'm going to introduce David Burnett from Indianapolis. David, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Earl, and just looking forward to another night of great discussion and debate and friendship, as usual.
Okay, all right. And my man from All Saints High, for those who are a little bit older and not up to date, that used to be St. Anthony's. Talk to my man Charles Snowden. Charles, how are you?
Hey, go. I'm great. You know how I feel. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. Happy hour. I'm with my boys. Come on, man. It don't get no better than this. We're getting ready to chop this thing up, too, for real.
Terry Reed.
Terry Reed's in the house. What's up?
Indiana's own. Indiana University.
Kung Fu's in the house. All right.
Hey.
Okay. We can't stop the interruptions. Listen to my main man from Washington, D.C., also attended All Saints. Larry Ables, how are you today, sir?
Hey, Earl, what's up, David? Chuck, let's do this.
Let's do
Amen.
And for those who are just tuning in, Larry has one. We also have a show on Saturdays, and for the second year in a row, he has just put the sports doctor in his place. He's picked the most predictions that we do every Saturday morning. So,
congratulations, Larry.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. You know, sometimes you're motivated by your opponent, and you know when you play against great people like Earl, it brings out the best.
Okay.
Okay, let's get straight to the show. We're going to start off. Mr. Finner, thank you for tuning in.
All right, Gregory.
What's up, Finner?
All right, we're going to start off with the NFL. What a weekend, what a weekend. We're going to cover all 4 games, which I'm sure will take up some time. But I'm going to get everyone's take on the games. Larry, what was your take on the games this weekend? You can. Okay, let's start with the first game. Baltimore, the Ravens, and Houston, Texas, correct?
Yeah, we're going to go one by one. Everybody gets to comment on the first one. Okay, that game really was somewhat of a mismatch. Baltimore's offense didn't get going in the first half. But even though it was a 10-10 tie, Texas's offense never really got going. The Texans' offense never really got going. And the only touchdown they got was on a punt return. So I knew I felt sooner or later Baltimore would win. But I was a little afraid because sometimes Baltimore lets teams hang around too long.
Okay. All right, Charles, what did you think about the Cleveland, Houston, Texas game? Not Cleveland, I am sorry. Baltimore Ravens game in Houston, Texas.
I agree with Larry. Look, it took Baltimore a second to get going. I think it was 10-10 at the half, but it was a complete domination, quite frankly. They held Texans to 200 total yards. They couldn't run it. They couldn't pass it. I think that quarterback might have turned the ball over once as well. So they got that defense going. The offense got going in the second half. Lamar had 100 yards rushing, threw 2 touchdowns, scored 2 touchdowns running. They handled their business, and you still got to be proud of what Texans did this season. But, yeah, Baltimore looked really good in the second half.
Okay, Mr. Bennett, your thoughts on the game?
Let me just say this. It was a moral victory season for the Houston Texans, but the end had to come to an end.
Yep.
Baltimore Ravens, which are, Earl, you did not have a faux pas. They are the Cleveland Browns. They are the original Cleveland Browns with 2 NFL titles, Super Bowl titles. That said, Baltimore Ravens just put a beat down in the second half on the Texans. And the Texans should be proud of their season, but the Baltimore Ravens are just better.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Greg
All
said
right.
it,
I'm sorry.
Greg said it as well. They're a second half team.
Yeah.
They're kind of scary in the second half because some of those games they've let teams hang around, and that was my concern. They hadn't played for a couple of weeks. Some of their starters had really been out for a while, but they got going.
They did get going.
Okay. And second game, Charles. I'll start off with you. The Detroit Lions against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Your thoughts on that game?
Well, I mean, it was a good win by the Lions, but that game was close. That game was really, really close. They had their ball in the hand, down 8, and then the quarterback for the Bucs threw the interception. Lions handled their business. I'm happy for them because it's been a long time since they have been in a championship game. I think 60 years or something ridiculous. So I'm glad for them. And again, I think the Bucs did better this year than a lot of people thought at the beginning of the season. So kudos to the Lions.
Okay, Mr. Burnett, your thoughts on that game?
I'm very happy for the Lions. Detroit has been a rundown city for a lot of years, but they are reemerging as a top-tier Midwestern flyover city, and I'm happy for them.
Okay. Larry Abel, your thoughts?
On the Lions, I guess the competition is getting better. The last 2 weeks, they've been in tough games, but they've been able to figure out a way to win those games, especially 2 weeks ago when they played the Rams, 1-point victory. But they seem to be still getting better and better, which is really good at this time of the year. Don't know how they'll do next week.
All right. Okay. The next game, I'll start with you, David Burnett. The San Francisco 49ers versus the Green Bay Packers.
San Francisco, very lucky to squeeze that game out. Green Bay is a team on the come. San Francisco, I would say, has had the best season, even though they had a 3-game losing streak this year. Overall, I think they're the best team so far, slightly better than the Baltimore Ravens. You would expect that they were supposed to beat Green Bay. But Green Bay, you can't argue what they've done this year. They've got a great young quarterback in Justin Love, and they're going to get better. San Francisco better watch out. They better win this year because it's going to be hard in the years coming forward.
Okay. Larry Abel, your thoughts on that game?
Well, just like Baltimore, I was wondering whether the effects of not playing impacted San Francisco. They were a little slow getting started. Plus, Debo got hurt, which is a vital part of their offense. They hung in there. I thought Green Bay was going to beat them, but when they needed a drive, they came through with a drive at the end of the game and pulled it out.
Okay. So, your thoughts on the 49ers Packers game? Or you finished, Larry?
I agree with the half of what David said, most of what Larry said, but only half of what David said. Look, man, the 49ers can't be the best team in the National Football League when the Ravens went out there recently and beat them and have a better record. So I don't know how he could conclude that they're better. But back to the game, I thought that the 49ers are just so talented. And I think that missed field goal by the Packers was big in that game as well. And again, the quarterback had the ball in his hand on the last drive and threw the cross-the-body interception. The Packers, that Packer Lions and that conference that they're in next year, it's going to be an interesting race because I think both of them are great young clubs that are coming.
Okay. David and I often disagree, but
No.
yeah, we do. But I can understand what he was saying when he was saying yesterday. We were talking in the production meeting. Let me give you an example, an analogy. Okay. I went to Woodrow Wilson High School. We were not very good in football. We were not very good in football at all. I'm not going to lie. We beat Roosevelt, which won the championship that year, the city championship that year. But were we better than Wilson? No, but we beat them. So just because we beat them doesn't mean we were better than them.
But Chuck's argument was different than that.
I think that's the argument towards me. Because David agrees with you.
No,
Chuck's argument was different than that. The difference is, even though you guys beat Roosevelt had a better team, Baltimore had the best record. And the reason they had the best record, one game better than San Francisco, is because they beat San Francisco.
In San
They
Francisco.
beat them, don't mean they better than them.
But they beat them and everyone else too. The example you gave, you picked a team that wasn't winning if they had their given Friday night or whatever.
I'm talking about what David was talking about in the meeting yesterday. I don't know what y'all talking about. David was trying to. First, I thought it was some hardcore people saying just because a team beats you doesn't mean you're better than them. I'm like, what are you talking about? But he's right. Just because a team beats another team, that does not mean that they're better than them. Now, the Ravens are better than the 49ers, but
Chuck and I agree with that just because one team beats you on a given Sunday. But when you have the best record in football and beat that team, it's kind of hard to
at their place.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
By the way, to back up, Pittsburgh beat the Ravens twice this year, and I don't think Pittsburgh is better than the Ravens, and they beat them twice this year, and Cleveland did too. Oh, Greg said, I remember that game, Earl.
Yeah.
Given Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh man, we were doing well. I wasn't acting crazy or anything, and I had just forgotten where we were.
The other thing about the 49ers right now, early in the year, we thought Brock Purdy, we used his name in the same sentence as Joe Montana and some of these other people in great play. We really gave him I think Purdy, now that I've watched him really closely, he's good and he has a good season, but he's not special.
Oh, God. Here we go again. Let's just get real on Brock Purdy. At this point, you and everybody else who's a doubter of Brock Purdy, and I'm not an endorser, I'm just saying let's just keep it real. It was determined early on that Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, according to the NFL, last player picked in the draft, was never going to get his full respect at all because he was Mr. Irrelevant. It's going to take years for him to shake that designation. It's unfair. He's played pretty well. If you just judge by what he's done on the field of play the last 2 seasons, you would say he's a very competent, pretty good quarterback. Is he the greatest quarterback? Nobody said that. I'm just going to say he's pretty damn good and part of the reason the 49ers are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, we don't disagree. If that's what we're saying, we don't disagree.
I'm just trying to stick up for
Patrick Mahomes, or he's not Lamar or Josh Allen, that kind of guy. I don't think he's that kind of guy.
He doesn't need to be.
Right.
Welcome, Mr. Felder.
thanks for tuning in.
Nigel Felder, my man. All right, Reverend.
I do agree with the 2 teams he has up there, too, with the 49ers and the Ravens.
Hey, let's go out on a limb when we pick those 2 teams.
I know it. Although I said it 2 months ago. Well, I don't want to.
Yeah, even then. Pick the Lions and somebody.
Wait a minute. Top tier?
He's kind of
okay.
You made a decision early that he's never going to get your credit. I get it.
No.
I get it. I get it.
I told myself that I was going to act like I had some sense today, and so I'm going to refrain from responding because I'm sure I'll end up saying something controversial or something.
No,
say something controversial. I'm ready.
Purdy has it right on his comment.
Purdy is nowhere near proving that he's top tier.
Right.
Top tier.
But Mr. Finley, he has a tendency to say controversial things. So I'm gonna roll with him. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
What's up, Nigel? Hey, Nigel. Right on. Glad you watched.
I think it means you're bothered.
Is he from Indianapolis?
No, he's a former colleague of mine, one of the great editors at WTTG, a great journalist, and now a great pastor.
Okay.
Yes, you are, CJ. You are definitely top tier.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can go with that.
Earl just got finished saying he says a bunch of controversial things. So
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. The Pacers were doing pretty good. All right. And the last game, Mr. Burnett, what did you think about the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills?
Great, great, great game. Great matchup. They have it every single year, it seems. Kansas City, it looks like you just can't count them out as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, who finds a way to win, who finds a way to energize his teammates. He got Travis Kelce back into action. You can't count Kansas City out no matter what, except they might be counted out in Baltimore this Sunday.
Hello.
Okay. All right. Charles Snowden, your thoughts on the game?
I agree with exactly what David said. Look, the bottom line in that game, because I thought both teams, it was a good game, and I thought Josh Allen played really, really well also. It came down the field goal kicker, just like in the Packer game. The field goal kicker missed the kick. I thought that was a big part of the game. But Mahomes has that magic. He's a magical performer, especially in these playoff games. I think ever since he's been a starter, this is his sixth straight conference
straight conference championship game.
Exactly. That's amazing, really, to be honest with you.
All right.
I like him. It was a great game. And,
Josh
Allen has nothing to be ashamed of or concerned. He played well. They just lost.
Okay. I want to give a special splash out to my girl, Lauren Lassiter. How are you, Lauren?
Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Lauren.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, who left? Larry, did you comment on that game?
No, I think that good game by Buffalo, but I think Kansas City was really, better, not just because of the final score. Think about if the guy hadn't fumbled the ball through the end zone. They would have been up even more. They just look like a better team, and they're really the team that I think that probably will give Baltimore the biggest problem. I think I look at them being more competitive against Baltimore than San Francisco or Detroit.
Yeah, but the total yardage, Larry, was equal. One had 365 yards, the other had 368 yards. That game was played.
I don't think Buffalo didn't have any plays over 20 yards or something like that, which was really strange.
Because the receiver dropped the ball.
Yeah, that would have just been one, but that was really the difference. Kansas City got some chunk plays.
Right.
Well,
the little running back played well for Kansas City.
Kung Fu did tell us. First thing he said yesterday, KC was playing possum. That's what Kung Fu said.
You don't know what that means.
I think they were just a little better than Buffalo, just like the score showed. But I got to take my hat off to Buffalo. They did their best. They didn't lose the game, I don't think.
They wanted Kansas City and Buffalo. Well, they got them, and it still worked out the way it worked out. So
okay, all right. Those are the thoughts of the Final Four. That's what they call the final eight. Okay, let's move on. David Burnett, can you tell me why no one has signed Bill Belichick as of yet?
I don't. We don't know a whole lot other than what has been presumed by the analysts. I would say Bill Belichick must be first in line for the Atlanta Falcons if he wants to coach. I'm kind of feeling that in the end, he may decide that he's going to retire, just like his buddy, his buddy at Alabama did. And they did coach together for a number of years.
I think he wants that record. I don't know Bill Belichick, never met Bill Belichick, but I still believe, from what I've seen all these years, I think he wants that record. So I'm not going to think he's going to retire until he gets that record. That's just my thought on that.
It could be.
Yeah. Larry, do you know why anyone has not signed him as of yet?
Well, the only team that he's interviewed with really is Atlanta. And he's had 2 interviews with him, and they're still interviewing people. So apparently they haven't made their decision either. And maybe his options might not be as plentiful as we once thought.
Wow. Okay. Chuck Snow, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because he's running out of teams. Right before we came on the show tonight, San Diego has announced, or it's been reported, that Harbaugh is accepting the Chargers job. So, people are some of these positions are starting to fill up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Mr. Belichick. I thought he was a good fit for Dallas, to be honest with you. I thought that team already had the pieces in place and that he could coach them up. But didn't happen. They gave McCarthy another year.
Okay, Larry, how do you think the fit is for Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers?
I think he did pretty well before as a coach. What was he with the 49ers at first? And I thought he did a pretty decent job. So far as the Chargers, I look for him to do a decent job there. He got a quarterback in play. He's coached pros before, so that's a leg up on a lot of college coaches.
Okay, all right. Mr. Finner, I'm not sure. I thought that Belichick said he had no problem giving up
control,
but I'm not sure whether he just said that. He was just saying that to New England, or was he saying that to everybody? So let me check on that, and I will get back with you on your comment about it, because I don't think he really has a problem with giving up control to anyone. But we'll see. I don't know for sure, but I'll get back to you.
I thought that's what hurt him in New England. I thought Belichick, the GM, let down Belichick, the coach. And I don't think there are many clubs that's going to give him total control at this point. But Atlanta might, just to get him.
All right, Kung Fu says, Glenn Finner, you're right. So that means that I'm right. I think he's going to give up. I'm going against Kung Fu. Kung Fu been saying some wild stuff. All right. Okay, we talked about Belichick. Oh, David, to the panel.
Yes,
to the
sir.
panel. Are the Detroit Lions the team? Are the Detroit Lions the team we think they are? Or
I hope that they are the team that we think they are. The Lions need a win. The city of Detroit needs a win. I'd like to see them take it to San Francisco. Why not?
okay, well, I think I maybe leave that question alone or rephrase it, because when I say are the Detroit Lions the team that we think they are, you were saying like you think that they're a pretty good team and you hope them to go well. When I was saying, the Lions are the Lions, it's the crew, so they're not going to come through. That's what I was thinking. So maybe I should have reworded that question.
Well, let me just simply say this. The Lions are not the Lions of the past. This is a pretty good team. They've got a pretty good coach that has the ear of the team and their hearts. We're going to see a pretty good showing, whether they win or lose, but they're a team on the come, and they're going to be battling Green Bay next year. They're going to have to be even better. So I want them to do well. I want them to do well, even though I think San Francisco's a better team. I hope that answers your question, Earl.
Yeah. The reason why I seem like I'm in shock is because you did answer my question, and you very rarely do. That's why I was like, David's actually answering that question. Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff right there. Okay.
We've taken the gloves off.
All right. I was doing.
I also agree with David too. I think that I don't think, even if they don't beat the 49ers out there, they've had a great year, and kudos to them. And they've got the culture has been built, the pieces are in place. They're going to be pretty good next year as well. They came last year, almost got there, and I think it's just a good sign. And look, the University of Michigan football college, they won the national championship, so kudos to Michigan.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Amen.
Yeah.
So I thought your question was kind of unusual too. Are they the team that we think they are? If we think they're the team that's going to lose to the 49ers Sunday, they're the team we think they are.
I'm messing with Detroit, but they do actually have a pretty good team.
They do.
They got a couple of boys that can run. They can run that ball.
I think they should have, if they could have caught the 49ers last week. I don't think the 49ers were in game shape last week. I think they might have been able to beat them if they had played them last week.
The 49ers shouldn't have won that game. I'm telling you, our boys tripped out again. the quarterback, but he played good though. He played
They
good.
missed the field goal. They missed the field goal. It was critical. The Packers did.
Okay. So, right quickly, just the top 10, I know that's a long list, are, from what we've seen, just from 1 year of play from Green Bay's quarterback and San Francisco's quarterback, would they be considered to be in the top 10 quarterbacks?
Well,
I don't know if they're in the top 10, the both of them. I don't know. But I'm telling you, both of them exceeded my expectations coming into the year. Both of them. And I really was down on Jordan Love. And Jordan Love has really showed me a lot. And I also want to make another point about that. You know, Larry and I have had a little bit of a disagreement because we're talking about the MVP piece. And I think the games at the end of the year are more important than the games at the beginning of the year. And that's when Jordan Love, I thought he came on the last 5-6 weeks.
Why are they more important at the end of the year? I'm just asking.
It's just like any ball game. You know, the 18th hole, if the score is tied, if you're down 1 run and it's the 9th inning, and I mean, at the end of these athletic events have more value at the end than they do at the beginning.
Not necessarily during the regular season. In the playoffs, they do.
I disagree. I don't
Okay.
know how that could be. I don't know even how.
This is how it could be. When you say the most valuable player of the regular season, it talks about the regular season.
Game 1 of the regular season, Larry, is not the same value as the last game or last.
It has equal value.
I disagree.
Each of them count 1 game.
They're more important. It's more important, man. The last
Equal value.
Okay.
Each of them counts as 1 game.
Charles, do you have anything
you guys
to say
are both technically correct.
Charles, do you have anything to say about Mr. Finner's comment right there?
Most improved quarterback in the NFL. You know what? I can't argue with it. I can't. I can't argue with that at all. Really.
I
know he didn't play much last year, so it's hard to. We didn't have any.
That's what I'm thinking. He ain't never been played before.
I argue with that comment, Mr. Finner. I appreciate your comment, but no, he's not the most improved because he didn't have a starting point.
Right.
So he was just pretty good.
But he's probably most improved this season from beginning to end.
Well, I guess one could look at it since he didn't have a starting point. He was on the bench last year, and he took his team to the playoffs. They could make an argument there.
Well, that's because he didn't play.
Regardless of the reason.
But you were right about it, David. I mean, seriously, Jordan Love showed me a lot of stuff, except for that across the body interception he threw in the last play of the game the other day. But except for that, he was tough.
Well, Mahomes has done some of the same stuff from time to time, and we forgive him for his transgression.
Right, and I'm forgiving him. He did well this year.
Okay. We're doing the NFL right now, but I want to slip right back into the NCAA. David, why do you think Saban retired?
I think he has nothing else to prove, and the era of NIL has changed things. The transfer portal has also made things a little difficult. But Nick Saban has nothing to prove to anyone. He's the all-time collegiate coach, in my opinion. He surpasses Bear Bryant and some of the other great coaches, Newt Rockne, etc. He has nothing to prove. He's nothing to prove.
Okay. All right. So it's always hard to nip this in the bud because as the playoffs go on, some people may be doing very well in the playoffs, but they may not have been doing all that well during the regular season. And this will be the last time that I ask who you guys would pick for the MVP, because the further we go into the playoff, somebody's going to be running, or they may win the Super Bowl. We're going to compare that performances to the regular season, and we're not. So right now, I'm going to ask you right now. The regular season is over. Anything that's happened after the regular season does not count. Charles, who would be your MVP candidate?
Lamar Jackson, and I don't even think it's close. Lamar
Larry,
Jackson.
Larry Edwards, who would be yours?
Same one I've had all year, McCaffrey.
David Burnett.
Christian McCaffrey is the best player in the NFL this year, and he's the most valuable.
Wow. Kung Fu. McCaffrey is the MVP. All right.
How about you, Mr. Rush? Jump in.
I probably would have to go with McCaffrey.
You were going with Tyreek Hill earlier, who had a good season.
No, I was interested towards him, but I thought I had put a stipulation that if he had 2,000 yards, he would.
Okay.
Yeah. And if I didn't, maybe I forgot to, but I thought that's what I meant to say.
You may have said that. You may have said that.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much you finished with.
Okay. All right. So, does anybody have anything else they want to discuss about the NFL?
How about this weekend? Did we say that? Who's going to win this weekend? Well, I guess we
Okay,
talked.
we have not, and it's good that I asked you. And that way we'll cover that. So, who do you think is going to win the games this weekend, Charles?
The 49ers and the Ravens. And I like them big, more than
49ers
7.
and the Ravens. David?
What I want versus what's going to happen are two different things. I want Detroit to win. San Francisco will win. The Ravens against the Chiefs. I want the Ravens to win. I think the Ravens will win.
Larry?
I'm going with the two teams that finished with the best records, Baltimore and San Francisco. The game that I think is going to be the most intriguing is Kansas City and Baltimore.
Okay. Anything else, Charles?
Who's your guys' runner-up for MVP? Who would come in second place for you guys?
I don't know. I don't play horseshoes.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson would be second place.
For MVP for the regular season, Lamar Jackson will be your MVP.
Not mine.
So all three of you guys said McCaffrey. 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 Right.
Thank you, Terry Reed.
I love Lamar Jackson. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm one of those statistical kind of guys. I don't see the. I never saw the MVP statistics from Lamar. I don't buy the best. Huh?
The last 4 or 5 weeks, I thought he played like that.
I'm talking about overall.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm looking at the whole season. If I was going by Chuck's philosophy, who does it late, certainly him. But the whole season, that's why I said McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's sustained performance.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, anything else before we go over to the NBA, gentlemen?
I'm good.
I'm good too. Good,
Okay.
Good conversation on the NFL.
Yeah,
Good.
good time tonight. Okay, all right. Shout out to my man, Richard Turner. What up, Rick? Yeah.
Hawks finals.
All right. So, the NBA. My first question is to the panel will be. My first question to the panel would be: is it possible that Golden State and the Lakers? I seem like I ask this every time I'm on the show. Are Golden State and the Los Angeles Lakers in danger of not making the playoffs? I'll start with you, Charles.
Yeah, I don't think Golden State's well, yes, they're in danger. And no, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Yes, the Lakers are in danger, but they're going to make the playoffs.
Davis, your thoughts on that?
Let me just simply say this. Both teams should not make the playoffs. I don't want them to make the playoffs. I'm tired of both teams. Let's move on. Let's get OKC and some of the other teams, Utah Jazz. Let's get some of them. Let's Sacramento Kings. Let's get some of them in play. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay, Larry.
Well, most of those teams, David, they will make the playoffs. I don't know about Utah, but
Utah might make the playoffs. Yes.
No, those other three will. That's my point. I'm not as sure about Utah. OKC and Sacramento definitely make it. Los Angeles, I kind of agree with Chuck. They're in danger, but I expect them to get in there. I don't expect Golden State to do it.
Right.
Charles?
I agree with exactly what Larry said. I don't think Golden State will, and I think the Lakers. I think they're in danger, but I think they'll make it as well. I think the Lakers are going to make a move too before the trade deadline. I think they're going to make a move. I don't know about Golden State.
Life support.
Wow. That's what I was going to ask you guys. What teams, Larry, what teams do you think might make moves before the deadline?
You know, one of the teams, this is kind of bad because the team that I thought was going to make a move made a move yesterday. It got Rozier.
Yeah, that's a good
that's Miami's the sneaky team. They got great management and they made a great move. I don't know who else. I like the move the Knicks made. I like the move the Pacers made. I'm not sure. I'm sure Los Angeles wants to make a move. I'm just not sure if they got the they don't have any draft picks till 2030. So I don't know who they're going to give up to get someone.
D'Angelo Russell.
And who's going to give you somebody for him, I guess?
The Atlanta Hawks might give up that guard, the little point guard that they have. They might give up either of the two guards, either Trey or
for D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, and some other stuff they got to throw in there. Yeah.
Well, they don't have any draft picks. That's the problem with them.
But Atlanta wants to get out of that contract too. I mean, Atlanta owes Trey a lot of money, and I don't know if they're happy with him right now.
Yeah, I think they'd have to be desperate. D'Angelo.
I know.
All right. Let's move on. Are the Los Angeles Clippers, are they the biggest? Are they the most dangerous team to the Denver Nuggets from defending their title? I'll start with you, Larry Abrams.
I think they're probably the most dangerous team in the Western Conference. It might be a team in the Eastern Conference that could give Denver a run. Either Boston or Philadelphia, I'm thinking coming to mind. But I think if they stay healthy, yes, they will give Denver a battle. They got experience, they got good players, and they got a pretty deep squad.
David Burnett, are the Los Angeles Clippers, the biggest threat to the Denver Nuggets returning to the championship series?
I'd like to say that's true, but I don't think so. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are.
Okay. Charles,
that's a good question. That's a good question, Go. Listen, and I think Larry said it perfectly. If they stay healthy, I know David makes fun of Anthony Davis all the time about him not being healthy. It's a lot of members of that Clippers team that's never really healthy. And if they stay healthy, yeah, they're going to be a threat to Denver. But I think Minnesota might be a threat to Denver too. That's a team that people don't talk about. You got to keep an eye on that bunch as well. Especially
Karl Anthony Towns, 62 points the other night.
Yeah, he cost them the game though in the fourth quarter.
Well, he might have cost him the game, but he also showed that he has a pretty lethal three-point shot.
Incredible first half.
Incredible
first half.
Oh, he had 58 at the end of the third quarter. But what happened, they kept feeding him. I was watching that game as well as Philadelphia's game. Philly was feeding Embiid. They were in the fourth quarter. They were feeding Cat. Big difference was Embiid was making the shots and Cat wasn't. He went like 2 for 10 in the fourth quarter.
I think they lost an 18-point lead in the fourth quarter or something crazy.
He just kept shooting and missing, and they didn't get smart enough to. They started going to Anthony Edwards too late.
Somebody said they were keeping an eye on that game you were talking about, Larry, the Philadelphia game, because they were trying to see if Cat could catch Embiid that night or something crazy. That's actually the same night that, by the way, and I think you guys know this, but I was sharing this with the world. That was the same night, the 22nd
anniversary.
that Kobe
Yeah.
had that they
Yeah.
won.
Okay.
Mm.
All right.
Hey,
David
Sharice, how you doing?
Hey, Sharice, what's going on? David Burnett.
Yes, sir.
The Phoenix Big Three are finally stringing along a couple of games where they're all playing together. A couple of weeks ago, I had included them in that group where I was saying they may not make the playoffs either. They made me look silly, simple, and dumb. They're playing very well together. My question to you, Mr. Burnett, is: do you think if everyone stays healthy, they will be a problem? Phoenix will be a problem.
Phoenix is a pretty good team. Anytime you got Kevin Durant on your team, one of the great snipers of all time, you have a chance. And then you got so many other, well, not so many other, you have several other great players on Phoenix. So they have a chance. I still don't think they're the top of the heap in the West. I still think it's Denver, OKC, and Minnesota.
Okay, Larry, your thoughts on that?
They're playing well now. They're still kind of light on their bench. So they get down in the playoffs when you got, I know you shorten the rotation, but team like I think they'd have a real hard time against the Clippers of Denver. And maybe even some of the younger teams that David mentioned, OKC and Minnesota, who's really not that young. They actually have a nice veteran mix.
Right.
Mr. Snowden, what do you think? Did I ask you that already?
So again, I think Phoenix, they're top three. If you think Bradley Beal is the top three type, they're not bad. They just drop off after that. I don't know if they have enough.
Okay. All right. Okay. Charles Snowden, we talked about this yesterday. The other day, how far do you think the Pacers could go if Halliburton gets healthy with the addition of Siakam to their squad?
So that's a good question, right? That's a really good question because I don't know how the brackets work out. I don't think the Pacers are better than Boston. I don't think they're better than the Heat. I don't think they're better than Philly. And I'm not 100% sure, even though they beat them 4 times, they're better than the Bucks. So, and I'll tell you what, if they were in a series with the Knicks, that would be a battle too. So, I think they're about 5th or 6th in the East. When it's all said and done. I think they'll be 5th, 6th in the East.
Larry, do you think how far do you think the Pacers can go with the addition of Siakam?
I think they'll probably go to the Eastern Conference semifinals. After that, I think they'll have a rough time. Again, a lot will depend on who they match up against. Right. And it's a lot of good teams. Those teams that Chuck mentioned, like the Knicks are playing very well now. And I think Indiana's, is good as a lot of those teams, but Eastern Conference semifinals is about it.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to my man, Mr. Burnett, David Burnett. He resides in Naptown. He follows the team pretty well. David, how far do you think they can go with the addition of Siakam?
Well, so far it's not been that great. Pascal Siakam has played 3 games with the Pacers, and Pacers are 0-3. But you have to put an asterisk on that, and that's because Halliburton has been hurt. The game he came back with Siakam, he probably shouldn't have. Will the Pacers do damage? I don't think this year. I think they'll win a playoff series against whomever they're going to play in that first round.
Right.
Beyond that, I think they're a year or so away from being a dominant team in the East, and eventually they will be. But Tyrese Halliburton is the key to everything this year and the years going forward because he's truly a potentially great player.
Right. Okay.
I think David said it better than me. I agree with everything what David just said. I absolutely agree with him.
Thank you, sir.
I still say it. I tell you what a sneaky team is. The Knicks. I know that's crazy what I'm saying because
they played very well since their trade.
10-2. They're 10-2 since they picked up OG.
They played very well.
By the way, went to Indiana University. Ever since they picked them up, they're 10-2, and they just I don't know how they do it because on paper it doesn't look like they should be as good as they are. Because who really wants Julius Randle? Really? Who really wants him? No one. And yet he's productive for that team. And Brunson
is playing as well as any guard. Anytime anybody he faces up against, he's very competitive against anybody.
Agree with you, Larry. And so kudos to Thibodeau or whatever they're doing there. That chemistry works for them. And just keep an eye on and last year they were tough in the playoffs too. They knocked off that Cleveland team that had Garland and Donovan.
Cleveland, I saw a report out of Cleveland is that they want to play them again. They're really anxious. I guess that's a budding rivalry there.
Right. Anyway, but on paper it doesn't look like they're that good. But they're 10 games over 500.
The Pacers need two things, in my opinion. They need as someone said earlier, posted earlier. They need a gorilla. They're soft, man. They're soft in the middle. But even if they don't get a gorilla, if Buddy Hield can play consistent for the rest of the year, the Pacers probably could go a little bit further than what people think. Whether they get a monster or not, it's just Buddy Hield can play better than what he's playing. He's been playing kind of shaky, but Buddy Hield's pretty good. If he plays consistent the rest of the year, you might be surprised about that Eastern Conference by the Pacers.
I hope so. I hope you're correct.
Well, I think that's going to be a competitive. Once they get past that play-in stuff, I think it's going to be pretty competitive in both conferences.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
By the way, playoff basketball is different from regular season basketball too. I mean, all that running and gunning and jumping, I don't know. All those high scores.
Well, a big difference is you get to play the same team and you can game plan. You don't fly in one night and play, and you got to make adjustments. That's when the coaching really comes into play.
Big time. They got a good coach too. Carlisle, you got to give him some credit for what he's done with that ball club too. He's coached that team up really, really well. Like I said, they beat Milwaukee 4 out of 5 times this year.
Well, okay, did we talk about that? I can't remember. Did we even talk about that? Did we talk about that? Why they fired him?
No, we haven't.
No, we have not.
Not during the show.
Okay, so Larry, what are your thoughts about this?
I think that it looks weird. Okay, here are my thoughts. Second best record in the league normally shouldn't get you fired. It's happened one time before. LeBron got flat fired in Cleveland when they were 30-11. But normally that kind of gives you some job security when you're 30-13. Yeah. So the only conclusion I can come to is that some of the players probably didn't like him.
Yeah. By some of the players, you mean Giannis.
And maybe one or two other ones too, but Giannis is probably one of them for sure. So here's the thing that I really wondered about. If their largest problem they're complaining about is defense, they're number 22 in defense. But I think when you gave up Holiday for Damon, you made the choice that you're going to be more offensively than defense. So I'm not sure what the issue is, but I got to think it's in the locker room.
David Burnett, you're out in the Midwest. You got some sources out there. Can you piece any idea of what the heck is going on out in Milwaukee?
I think Milwaukee determined early on that Adrian Griffin was just not up for the job. That's the only way that you can explain a team that's got as good a record as Milwaukee does to let go of a coach with that kind of a record. It sounds like that there was some internal discord within the team, and Giannis Antetokounmpo was certainly at the forefront of whatever discontent they had with the guy. Now, will Doc Rivers be an upgrade? Sure, he's an upgrade. He's had many years of head coaching, but will he lead them to a championship? Has he led anybody to a championship except the 2008 Celtics? No. I don't think the Bucks are going to win with Doc Rivers a championship, but they'll be a respectable team and they'll have the respect of the players, which apparently Adrian Griffin did not.
Okay. All right. Well, my man Chuck, Troublemaker Chuck, seems to think he wouldn't put it. He don't know what's going on, but he wouldn't put it past Doc Rivers trying to stab him.
Yeah,
Backstab him for his job. I have no idea where Chuck comes up with these things.
So he was a consultant to the Bucks, and how do we get to
the point where we're thinking that he might have backstabbed him?
Well, let's clear this up. He became Doc Rivers became a consultant to the Bucks recently when it was determined that the coach Adrian Griffin was having some issues with the team, and they were looking for ways to help him shore up his coaching ability. That's what happened. So it wasn't like Doc was a consultant the whole season. This has been recent.
That doesn't mean he didn't make phone calls or his.
Well, obviously there were other problems. You don't bring in somebody outside consulting.
I don't disagree with that either. But I don't know what happened, but I wouldn't put it past that Doc had something to do with it.
Well, let's get real with your feelings about Doc Rivers. You have some personal issues with Doc Rivers. Let's get real. Let's be completely transparent.
By the way, I'm not the only one that don't like him. Philadelphia told him to get the hell out. Along with
well, I mean, that's not a problem. I mean, but yours is more personal,
right?
And I'm just making sure that the thousands and thousands who are watching understand the transparency that I'm giving you.
It can't be trusted. And so there's another thing, because I was prepared getting ready for the show. I looked something else up. They have a guy on the end of their bench named Thanos Anakumpo, and he's garbage. He's just horrible. And what I read was Adrian Griffin was making fun of him several times during the season, and Giannis didn't like it. He just flat didn't find it funny, didn't think it was cool, and he didn't like it. Period.
Wait, am I missing something? Here goes Greg talking about Dr. Weezer.
He is a
You
weasel.
guys act like he's done something to y'all personally or something.
I think Milwaukee brought him in, and they were kind of interviewing him when he was a consultant, because for some reason they wanted to move on from Griffin, and it can't be their record. It's definitely not their record. So when he was doing his consultant stuff, I think Milwaukee playing that the whole time.
Several players don't like him, but basically Giannis didn't like him, and the several other players just made it even worse. That's all.
Sometimes the guy does not look like
he'd still be on the team.
Yeah.
The guy just does not look like he's supposed to be a head coach at this time.
Wait, come on, David. Stop. David. We have had 3 great shows. The last 3 shows have been great, David. Come on, and you have been awesome. Don't start with that crazy stuff you're gonna say. He don't look like no coach.
Earl, give him a chance to make his point. David, tell us why when they're 30 or 13, he doesn't look like he's going to be a coach.
I think sometimes you're looking at body language, you're looking at command of the huddle. Remember back in the 70s, and we're old enough to remember this. When K.C. Jones was a young head coach with the Washington Bullets, Baltimore Washington Bullets, and the players and other coaches on the team were telling him what to do. He did not have the gravitas at that time to lead the team. It took him a number of years, almost a decade, for him to reestablish his credentials as a top-tier coach. And that's what I'm thinking they might have seen with Adrian Griffin with the team. I mean, Milwaukee saw something. They saw something. That's the reason they reached out to Doc Rivers and other coaches to help this man become a head coach. That's what happened. That's how I read it.
Well, there's something else.
All that before they hired him.
Well, you don't always know that. David Blatt, the former head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron was there, a great coach in European basketball, but came over here and apparently wasn't ready for NBA coaching. Sometimes that becomes obvious, and his record was just as good as Adrian Griffin's.
I think when your star doesn't like you,
you're going to be gone.
There was some other thing that happened from an inside baseball thing. So Coach Stotts was going to be the veteran ex-head coach was going to be the assistant to Adrian at the beginning of the year.
And he quit.
They made the deal to get Dame. Stotts was Dame's coach for 9 years. And then Stotts mysteriously quit right before the season started. So they didn't have that veteran ex-head coach on that bench. And I think Adrian might have needed that for whatever reason. And I don't know why Stotts quit, but he quit right.
And Chuck, that's why I said it might have been more than just Giannis.
Right.
You know, a guy like Stotts, who's been a head coach for almost a decade.
Right.
He probably felt, who is this dude? Who is this Adrian Griffin guy going to tell me what to do? Sometimes it comes down to something as simple as that.
Carlson's Swagger. Giannis makes $45 million. Griffin made 3 more. So now they got to pay 3 coaches. They got to pay the guy they fired last year. Now Adrian Griffin. Now Doc.
The guy that was coaching them when they won the championship, right?
They got rid of him too.
Budenholzer.
Right.
I don't know what Milwaukee wants there.
They want to hold on to their window of opportunity because they're a flyover city. This is their window, and the window's going to close whenever Giannis.
I haven't looked at it closely, but is Dame playing really well this year like he did in his years?
Offensively,
yeah.
Offensively, he's not averaging 30-some points like he has been.
Right.
But he's upper 20s.
Yeah, he's hitting game-winning shots sometimes.
But he doesn't play the same defense.
And Middleton has not come back from those injuries, and so they're not the same team, really.
He's had some good games too. They can't really stop people.
Well, I know, but
I think Holiday was kind of like the heart of their defense.
It's like Clay. Clay sometimes has good nights, but for the most part, Clay's not the same player he used to be. And I think of Middleton like that. I don't think Middleton is the same guy anymore.
This season, he's played better than he did last year, and he's a third option. So usually when they go to him, he does okay, but they can't guard people.
All right.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. Do you have anything else you want to discuss before we go to closing comments?
Shout out to Embiid and his 70 points this week. I don't know if we made mention of that on the show. But
is this your closing comment, or is this part you want to discuss?
I thought you asked me, did I want to make any more comments about the NBA before we moved on to closing comments?
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Well, no, it's not. That's not my closing comment. I was just making mention of Embiid's 70 points. Should I not make mention of that on your show? Go. And maybe other people want to comment on that too, Earl. I don't know.
I think we're all taken aback by your seemingly nasty attitude all of a sudden.
No,
we're all sitting back like, where the hell did that come from?
Oh, y'all giving me a headache, man.
I don't understand.
Asked if there were anything you want to say.
No, you're yes, I am sensitive, but I have noticed I have detected a sense of attitude towards me for no reason whatsoever.
Mention of Embiid before we
anyway. Does anybody have anything else we want to suggest before we move on to closing remarks?
No, I don't.
Okay. And Chuck, I'm not sure what you have to do after the show, but please don't leave, because I'd like to talk to you after the show. Anyway. David, your closing remark, David?
I do. I just have a simple comment, and that's relating to Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson this coming weekend. A matchup of two of the best young quarterbacks that we've seen in years. One of them has already won 2 MVPs for the regular season. The other is about to win another, his second MVP. This is historic in that African-American quarterbacks are the vogue now in the NFL, and I'm happy about it.
Okay. Charles Snowden, your closing remark?
Yeah, I do. I want to make something. I'll try to say it quickly, although, I don't do a good job of that. So there was an announcement this week that something that I treasured growing up, even in my 20s and even in my 30s, every Thursday I used to meet the mailman because I wanted to get my Sports Illustrated. And they announced this week they're closing shop.
Oh,
And
wow.
for me, I love the Sports Illustrated magazine. I love the covers. I love the writers. I don't care if it was Rick Riley or DeFord or
Yeah.
Kerry Kirkpatrick. And it was a big part of, fueling my sports love. And for them to close up shop because they haven't figured out how to work it in the digital world, I just wanted to tell Sports Illustrated, man, you meant a lot to me. I just wanted to make a shout out about that.
Yeah, I used to
Amen.
couldn't wait to go down to Larry's house to read his magazine. I couldn't afford it, but Larry would get it, and I'd love to go down there and watch it, man. I remember those days.
And I love it.
Larry Abrams, do you have a closing remark?
I probably couldn't afford it either. But my mom probably got it for me. I wasn't working. My closing remark is going to be what Chuck started on, Embiid. Not necessarily his 70 points, but that will be part of it. I'm watching him this year play against top 7-footers like Wemby. He gave him 70. He gave the Joker 41. Gave Anthony Davis only 30, but he only played a few minutes because they kind of blew them out. But he had 30. And he got 51 against Minnesota, who's supposed to have the best big man. So he's really on a roll. He seems like he's on a mission. And coming into this season, I had my doubts about Philadelphia, but I got to say, Embiid's probably going to be the MVP this year. And I think their team will probably go deep into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They got to add
All
him
right.
They
Well,
gotta-
gentlemen, it's been grand. I had fun. Thank you all for.
Oh, I got to go. I got to go. I'll call you later.
All right, guys.
Great show, Earl.
Hopefully you'll be able to tune in next week. Check out Game Line NFL, Larry Abels, Neil Abels, and myself on Saturday, where we'll give our predictions for the games. And next week, our moderator will be Charles Snowden. So hope everybody turns in for a great week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Social media people, have a very blessed and productive evening.
Good job, go.
Good job. Thanks, everybody.